Hey everybody, it's Patrick Lee, and it's time for Midweek Motivation Live. We'll be back right after this. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing all right today. It's Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. It's a rainy day here in Amarillo, Texas today. A little unusual. Early June in Amarillo, and unexpectedly we woke up to rain and fog. It's a little dark outside, but it's on fire in studio number one today in the downtown Tower Executive Office Suites. Studio One, Midweek Motivation Live office. Patrick Lee Group Real Estate Offices. Before I come at you live every week, man, I sure hope y'all are doing good today. People tuning in from all over already. Want to talk to you about your life. Hello, Marlene. Good to see you on here. Awesome. Marlene's works for me, and she's actually works with me and is actively working and listening to the show while she's taking care of clients. Super impressed with the work ethic of Marlene Tafoya. Awesome friend and worker. Got some epic music playing in the background. I hope that makes this an epic show, right? Love it when people tune in. They're already tuning in. Look at you, Bruce. Good morning from Wisconsin. Good to see you this morning, man. I miss you, buddy. Been too long since we've seen you. Get back to Amarillo soon. People watch the show from all over. I'm always impressed when I find out where people watch the show from, and that is awesome as we go through life and do this. Today, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. Last week in the previous show, many of you know now that this is now a podcast on all of the top podcast platforms, Apple Music, iTunes. We upload this through a website called Buzzsprout. Hey, Micah, good to see you on here. Got a message about you and the Clarity Report. Congratulations on that. And we'll be talking about that soon as well. In the previous show, that we've already uploaded, we talked about everyone saying that you can be the one. Les Brown, a lot of other motivational speakers, Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, talking about being the breakout person in your life, in your family. You may be the first person to break a generational curse and say, hey, that stops alcoholism, physical abuse, whatever it is, that may have gone on for generations in your family or in your life or people that and you say, hey, that stops with me. You can be the one to start becoming successful. No one in your family has ever graduated from high school or went to college. You can be the one. But last week we talked about you can be the one too. If someone else in your family, in your business has already become that person, you can be the same person as well. You can aspire to achieve the same things that breakout person did. You know why? Because they paved the way. And if you'll follow that, you can follow the leader, right? I tell people all the time, and I shared this with my team yesterday, talking about mentorship. I would never hire a coach or follow a leader that's never been somewhere I want to go, right? Because they don't know the way. I would always follow a person that has the experience to tell me what I need to know. And if you're following or traveling down a road together, at least be with someone that has the ability to find out, ask the right questions to help you get where you're getting. Hey, Pete, Sal, people tuning in from all over. That's awesome. Love it, love it, love it. So always hitch your wagon up to a horse that knows the way. Hire a coach that knows how to get you where you need to go. But if that person in your life, in your family has already shown up, you can be that person too. You can follow the leader. You can achieve greater things even than they did. When Jesus left this earth, he told his disciples, greater works shall you do than I did, because I'm going to my Father in heaven to prepare a place for you. Jesus himself told us that we could do greater works than he did. Find someone that can help you show you the direction to go. So the title of the show today, can I make a difference? Absolutely, you can make a difference. How in the world do we do that? You can make a difference. I want to ask you a little bit about your state in life. What is it that you do? So I know most of you that are watching right now that are commenting. I don't know everyone watching the show wherever they are, but the people that are already on here, the people that are commenting, I know what a few of you do. Tell me what you do. Tell me a little bit about your family, about your history, about some things in life, maybe where you've had a struggle. And those are things that I can actually reach out to you privately through Messenger and things like that. And we can break some of those things down, right? Get down to the skeleton and find a way to rebuild back something that allows you to make a difference. And I'd be happy to do that. But share some of those things in the comments, or like send them to me in Messenger. But tell me a little bit about what you do and how you can make a difference. And we'll talk about that. Pete says, I'm in insurance. Look at you, Pete. You want to get into insurance. I love that. You've been wanting to do that for quite a while. Now, if you got into insurance, how would you make a difference, right? How would you make a difference? Good morning, bro Cephas, my buddy Roz. Awesome. Cody, my buddy, I got to post this comment because this is hilarious. Cody owns a Fire Slice Pizza, one of Amarillo's hidden gems. It's not that hidden anymore. He's like #1 on Yelp. You can go to Yelp and find Fire Slice. Cody rocks. And he says, I babysit adults and sell wine. And that's the best pizza place in town. Also has a bar, wine bar. And Cody's not wrong. Cody sells great pizza. He babysits adults and sells phenomenal wine. So there's that. So how do you make a difference? I just got back from an event, and that's where I'm kind of going to go with on this today is the power of events. I just came back from one called the Sphere Rocket conference in Dallas. And at this particular event, we had about 25 speakers. I had a list of all of them. One of the top speakers was John Sheplack. John Sheplack is a real estate and life coach to many, many, many successful people in the real estate space that I happen to be in. One of the leading coaches in the nation in real estate. Big muscle dude, dark tan. Yes, Cody Blair's pizza is the best. Developing relationships just like you do, Patrick Lee. Awesome. How can we make a difference? So at this conference, I listened to John Sheplack for about 2 hours. No notes, stand out on stage, engage the audience, bring people to the height of emotion, both anger, love and adoration, fear, anxiety, anger. The profanity flows like wine. And some people are offended by that. Some people learn how to get past that to get to the core of the message that's coming across. And some things, and I'll just say this about that, some language that some people find offensive, others don't. Some people have different interpretations of what offensive language is. And we're just going to leave that right there. And then one of the other speakers that came out was Steve Weatherford. Steve Weatherford was a 10-year NFL football player, has a Super Bowl ring. He was a punter, big muscle dude, life coach to multiple NFL players and other professional athletes, born again Christian. And the same people that were cheering John Sheplack with his profanity laced motivational message. I just say that to bring it out there to you people. With his message, these same people in this huge event, we're at the Hyatt Regency in Frisco, Texas. Very nice hotel and event center. And the very next speaker, one of the following speakers, Steve Weatherford, and we end up with over 100 people committing their lives to Christ through his message and his testimony. So at these events, you're going to have a mixture, a melting pot of different kind of speakers. And Justin Nelson, the host of this and the owner of the Sphere Rocket Company, told Weatherford, he told Sheplack, he told all of the speakers that came out to speak, and they said, is there a topic? We don't want to step on another speaker's toes. What do you want us to talk about? And he said, I want you to bring the best of what you have to offer that will make a difference in someone's life. And this huge, muscular, very wealthy NFL football player said, the most valuable thing I have to offer that will make a difference in someone's life is the power of Christ to redeem them from their life of sin and give them a new life in heaven. John Sheplack's greatest thing he can provide someone to help them make a difference in their life is the motivation to pick themselves up, to chart a new path, to move forward and in excellence and lead others. Yes, Micah. Micah was actually there with me. We were sitting at the same table, and was just so happy to meet her at this event. Best conference, Weatherford and Sheplack. Exactly. It was incredible. So you've got these kind of people, and they've all started these big businesses. All of the speakers have started great companies that can assist real estate agents and others in any area of their life to make a difference. And there was an underlying theme at this conference that nearly everyone had, most of the speakers had. And that was a game changer in their lives, something that drove them. And if you want to have the power to make a difference, I want you to find something in your life that you think could help others. And everyone has a story. I've shared a lot of things with you about my life and my story. I've just I just live streamed another incredible event. I'm going to be talking about that in the next show and some other posts with some giveaways we're going to be having here in Midweek Motivation Live about another event. But the underlying theme at this particular event, Sphere Rocket Conference, was these people had an event or they came in contact with a person that changed their life. And this could be everyone from a relative that passed away. I've shared with you a lot the story of my family, of my dad's passing 2 years ago. And many of these stories, of course, they'll bring you to tears. That brings me to tears. I'm an emotional guy. I'm not afraid to mention that and to admit that. Many of you know me. And I tell the story of really coming from very meager background, 5 kids. Mom and dad worked hard. We didn't make much money. We were what many people would consider the second O in poor. We were just po. So we were just po white folks. You know what I mean? But everyone in my family had an opportunity to reach out for greatness, to go do things in their life. And some of them chose to do that. Some of them did not. Some of them are achieving making a difference in their life in other ways with other people on their level. And I applaud them for that. That's awesome. But what is a story in your life that can bring someone to tears? What events have you been to that could change someone's life? What stories do you have to tell that could make a difference in someone else's life? And I want to submit to you this simple message, and that is, if you want to make a difference in someone else's life, you have to share your way into doing that. And what does that mean? That means if you have an event in your life that is epic, or something that you have found that has helped you, and you keep that hidden inside and you don't share it with the world, you're doing a great disservice, both to you and to other people. The best way to help others is to share these stories. Share them, give them these glimpses into your life where you've made a mistake and you fixed that, where you've had a challenge and you overcame that. If you have overcome a challenge in your life and you don't share that with anyone else, aren't you a very, very shallow person? Or aren't you a stingy person? The only way, not the only way, but one of the best ways for us to learn a topic is to teach it to others. Share it with others. If you've achieved something in life and you heap that upon yourself and you don't teach your fellow man how to do the same thing, you're very shallow and selfish. Isn't the goal in life for all of us to get ahead if we're willing to put in the work? If you have overcome something in your life and you've achieved mastery of that, don't you desire to share that with someone else and help them come along with you? We witnessed an incredible tragedy a week ago in the city of Uvalde, Texas, where an 18-year-old gunman got into a school left unlocked and started shooting up people. And the stories come around about from all different media outlets, sharing both sides of the story. Well, multiple facets to this story as you unwrap it. And it's tragic. It's horrible, unthinkable. And the narrative that comes along with it runs the gamut of who he was, she was this a trans person? Was this was it a minority? Was it an angry white person? How did they get the guns? How did they get the money to get the guns? A person that lives with their grandparents and has been ostracized from family and society. Where did they come up with the money to buy these very expensive weapons? And how did they get into the school? And at the end of the day, what really matters is what can we learn from this, and how can we give back and help the people that lost family, that lost their parents that were teachers, that lost their children that were students in this school. And the answer in our brain, the liberal media says it's the gun's fault, and the conservative media says it's a mental health issue. And there's probably a combination in the middle somewhere where something went wrong. But what do we do to fix it? So do we pass more laws against guns? Do we sink more money into mental health issues and trying to help the people that are on the fringes of society? And I think one of the best things that we can do is learn to get involved and help our fellow man, the outcast, the downtrodden, the people that are trying to get ahead in life and they don't know how. Don't we owe it to those people to find a way to share the way that we have found? If there's a story in your life, I want you to develop that story. Find out what it is. I made the banner up on the screen. You have something to share with others. Find out what it is and develop that story. What do you mean, develop that story? I tell you all the time, and I've shared it on the show numerous times in the past, you have a story to tell and you need to tell it. Find out what that is. How did you overcome something in your life? Put some comments up here. What have you overcome in your life? Have you overcome poverty? Have you overcome financial distress? Maybe you've bounced back from bankruptcy in your life and you have a financial story that you can share with someone else that will help someone else that's struggling in their finances. Perhaps you have beaten alcoholism. Maybe you're a third or fourth generation alcoholic, and alcohol has wreaked havoc in your family and your life for generations, and you've overcome that. How do you develop that story to where it becomes shareable with someone else? If it's mental health, if it's depression, if it's obesity, how did you overcome the mindset of I'm gonna gorge and engorge myself with Twinkies and Ho-Hos? How did you overcome that? And how can you develop that story to share it with someone else? The internet is full of stories of people. Domestic abuse, absolutely. Domestic abuse, sexual abuse, poverty, emotional abuse, physical abuse. You guys know that we are putting together a fundraiser. It's going to happen in September for No Boundaries and Life Impact International. We're going to be raising funds to send to these two agencies that rescue and minister to people in work slavery and sexual slavery, both in America here in Amarillo and across the seas in Thailand. People are being abused all around us. And if we don't learn how to spot the signs, how to find those people, tell our story and reach out to those people, how are we going to snatch them out of that? How are we going to give them the motivation to overcome that? The motivation to take the time to make the preparation to put their plans in action. Maybe your story is the one that's going to help one person overcome these things in their life. I've told the story on the show before, the little boy on a beach, and hundreds of starfish have washed up on the beach. And the little boy's out there picking up these starfish from the sand and throwing them back into the ocean. And the old man walks up and says, "What are you doing, kid?" And he goes, "I'm throwing starfish back in the ocean." And the old man says, "Don't you see these hundreds of thousands of starfish on the beach? You're not making a difference. You're not making a dent in the amount of starfish on the beach. And he picks up another one and he throws it into the ocean. And he said, I made a difference to that one. Don't you want to be that person that makes a difference to that one and that one and that one? And what if your life changed the lives of one person and that person became the next Tony Robbins or the next Ed Milet or the next David Bentic, the next Jason McCutcheon, the next person that has greatness, that wants to go help kids and family members and friends and people in their life to get out of where they're at, to raise up a notch, to take the next step to the next step, to the next step, to the next level in life that they need to achieve. And what if you're the key? What if you're the key and you say, I can't make a difference? Every one of you can make a difference. Every one of you has a story to tell. I want you to look down deep inside yourself this week and find out what your story is. Learn to develop that story. Reach out to me and tell me your story. Private message me. My number, my digital contact info, my digital business card is always in the comments below every one of our episodes of Midweek Motivation Live. It's www.patricklee.work. You can get an appointment in my calendar, and I'd love to talk to you about it. But if you don't reach out to me, I can't help you. I'll continue to come to you every week, and I'll continue to pound these messages into your brain. You got to go help your fellow man. Each one, reach one. Someone told me that recently, a few months ago, in a story, and it's kind of changing my motto. Each one, reach one. If you can reach one, and that person can reach one, at the end of the day, or at the end of our life, we will have reached multiple people. Ed Milet tells a story about his dad in this other conference I was watching. And Ed Milet's one of the number one motivational podcasts in the world. And he's on all major podcast channels as well. He's on YouTube. And his dad was an alcoholic when Ed was a little kid. And he eventually was reached out to by someone in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it changed his life. His father gave up drinking. Was alcohol free for over 35 years. And it became his life's mission to turn around and help as many people as he could to overcome alcoholism. Peter says, your story is someone else's breakthrough. Amen, brother. That's very powerful. And if you won't develop your story, how are you going to help someone else? You may say, I don't know how to tell my story. I was abused. Okay. When you hear someone else talking about abuse, you can enter the conversation and say, hey, I was abused too, and here's how I overcame it. I was abused too, and here's how I deal with it. Here's where I go in my mind to rationalize what happened to me and to make the decision to move forward in peace and love and not hurt and anger. You know what I mean? I battled a nicotine addiction. For 30 years, I smoked 2 packs a day, and here's how I overcame cigarettes. Here's how I got out of an abusive situation. Here's how I adopted my in-laws' kids. Here's how I adopted my sister's kids or my brother's kids when my brother died or my sister went to prison, and I took in their kids and I raised them as my own. Here's how I did that. Develop your story, man. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Everyone has something to share with others that will help them. And I encourage you to find what that is. And many of you watching the show today have multiple stories that can help multiple people. My buddy Dave is watching now. Dave Bentic was on my show. He's been a guest on the show. He's on a lot of people's shows and podcasts. He's a rocket ship going to the top in his life. You know why? Because he's developing his skills, how to speak on camera and how to communicate a message to other people. My buddy Jason McCutcheon is going to be, he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be on the show soon. And he's another licensed realtor, a teacher, and a coach of young boys, and also has a motivational podcast and helps hundreds and hundreds of people as well. And he has a story to tell. He shared his story of his life and how his grandfather impacted him as a young man and changed his life. And he has a great story to tell. But when you sit down and you have these stories and you start writing them out, all of the messages, all the memories come to your mind and you put them all down on paper. Ross is watching the show. He was a previous guest on the show a couple of weeks ago, battles ADHD, and he's learned how to overcome it and build a niche business without ADHD drugs by discipline and writing down and scheduling his life. All of you have a story, something that you've overcome. Write it down. And the more you write it down, the more it becomes front of mind, and it becomes easier and easier for you to share with other people. And that's the goal of the show today. Can you make a difference? Yes, you can. 100%, I believe you can. Everyone watching this show. Like, love, and share the show. Share it, share it, share it. Share it far and share it wide, my brothers and sisters. We can all make a difference. And don't we owe it to our fellow man to go out and do that? Maybe if someone would have reached out to that kid in Uvalde and just said, hey, man, it looks like you're going through it. Hey, man, maybe this has happened in your life and I'm sorry. Let me help you with that. Hey, brother, I've been down the same road you are, and there's a better way, man. 21 people would still be alive. Every time there's a senseless shooting, a senseless tragedy, we want to go back and blame that person, but doesn't the blame lie on us? Don't we owe it to reach out to these people? And I know that everyone can't. You can't go and change the world, but you can change the person next to you, and they can change the person next to them. And maybe one of us reaches out to someone who can get a national platform and change the world. And that's my hope and desire today. Hey guys, I believe in you, each and every one of you. Thank you for watching the show. This is Midweek Motivation Live. I come to you live every Wednesday morning. And now we are podcast and on multiple podcast platforms. Everywhere you go to listen to your podcast, you can find Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. Go ahead and download that. I'm getting notifications every week about the multiple downloads and how many people have downloaded the show now. And it is really gaining traction now that it's on the podcast platforms. I'm blessed because of that. It always impresses me every week that people come back and watch the show, including those of you watching now. I love each and every one of you. And I hope that this show makes a difference in your life, and it motivates you to go out and make the difference in someone else's life. Until next week, this has been Patrick Lee saying, God bless you all. I have a bonus for you. What's your bonus tip today? I have a bonus tip at the end of every show. Go to another event. I have multiple events on my schedule for the rest of this year. And all of my leadership has said for years, big things happen at events. Big ideas are birthed at events. So go to another event. Maybe you say, I'm not in an industry that has events. Create an event. If it's not an event that pertains to your industry, go to a motivational speakers event. Go find an event to go to. Just type in leadership events, motivational events, conferences, leadership conferences. Just Google it, and I guarantee you'll find some to go to. And then you're going to find a speaker like Patrick Lee that starts speaking into your life on a regular basis, and it'll change your world. It's definitely changed mine. I just went back and listened to Earl Nightingale yesterday. First motivational speaker that ever poured into my life and didn't even know it, by way of a cassette tape when I was 20 years old. Earl Nightingale. Amazing speaker. There's so many of them you can find on YouTube, but hopefully I become your favorite one. And now I'm just rambling. Until next week, this has been Patrick Lee. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.